goats get skinny and stop giving milk.
And in towns that survive by selling goat milk,
If there's no goat milk,
There's no money.
and if there's no money,
There's no food or housing or clothing.
and so in gapper-infested towns,
since nobody likes the idea of starving naked outdoors,
It is necessary at all costs to keep gappers off goats.
such a town was Fripp.
Fripp was 3 leaning shacks by the sea.
Fripp was 3 tiny goat yards into which 8 times a day the children of the shacks would trudge with their gapper brushes and gapper sacks tied at the top. After brushing the bugs off the goats, the children would walk to a cliff at the edge of town and empty their gapper sacks into the sea.
The gappers would sink to the bottom and immediately begin inching their way across the ocean floor.
And 3 hours later, would arrive again at Fripp and split into 3 groups, 1 per yard.
Only to be brushed off again by the same weary and discouraged children.
Who would stumble home and fall into their little beds for a few hours of sleep, dreaming
If they dreamt at all.
of gappers putting them into sacks and dropping them into the sea.
The Very Persistent Gappers of Fripp
By George Saunders.
In the shack closest to the sea lived a girl named
Capable.
Earlier that year, her mother had died.
Since then, her father had very much liked things to stay as they were.
At dusk, Capable would find him in the yard, ordering the sun to stay up,
Then sitting sadly in a flower bed when the sun disobeyed him and went down anyway.
The last thing her mother ever cooked was rice, and now Capable's father insisted that all his food be white.
So in addition to brushing gappers 8 times a day and faithfully filling her gapper sack, Capable also had to include milk and chalk and sugar into a very special white dye she spread all over whatever she was cooking that night.
It was a hard life.
And it made her tired. Father, maybe it's time you moved away from the ocean. Away from the gappers.
Oh, my dear, I'm surprised at you. This is our home. This has always been our home. There have always been gappers and exhausted children brushing them off. I myself was an exhausted child brushing off gappers. It was lovely. The best years of my life. The way they fell to the sea from our bags. And anyway, what would you do with your time if there were no gappers?
Sleep.
Sleep. Yes.
Now, gappers are not very smart, but then again,
They're not all equally stupid.
One day, at the bottom of the sea, one of the less stupid gappers that had a lump on one side of its skull that was actually a somewhat larger than brain sort of sticking out thing, calculated that of the 3 houses in Fripp
The reddish one?
Capable's house.
was about 15 feet closer to the sea than the next closest house. Which one you were the size of a baseball and have no legs and move around by crinkling and uncrinkling your extremely sensitive belly is useful information.
so that night, instead of splitting into 3 groups, the gappers moved in one very large and oppressive shrieky group directly into Capable's yard.
When Capable came to brush gappers that night, she found every single one of her goats lying on its side with a mortified look on his face, completely covered in orange shrieking gappers.
When the other Fripp children came out to brush gappers, they found they had no gappers. So they went back inside and fell asleep. In the house next door to Capable lived
Mrs. B. Romo, a singer, whose daughter was also a singer. They both sang in a proud and angry way, as if yelling at someone. La 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 la. It's a miracle. This is wonderful. Capable, dear, you poor thing. The miracle didn't happen to you, did it? I feel so sorry for you. God has been good to us by taking our gappers away. Why? I cannot say. I suppose we must somehow deserve it. Roberta, come out and look. What?
said Roberta.
Who was herself only slightly brighter than a gapper.
I don't get it.
Correction, exactly as bright as a gapper.
No gappers. No more gapper brushing.
So, what are you saying, Mom?
Are you saying we don't have to brush gappers as long as there aren't any? It's a wonderful thing you're such an excellent singer, because you are certainly not going to win any brain awards.
Well, I don't want a brain award.
Unless they give money with it. Do they give money with it? In that case, maybe I'll take it. Money, or candy, or a trophy, or a medal. Unless they pin the medal directly into your brain, which in that case, no, I don't want it. Stop singing! Stop singing! Just go inside! All right, but no brain awards.
So Roberta went back inside, sang some more angry skills, after which she argued with her mother about which of them sang the best.
After which they wrestled about which of them sang the best.
And there was the sound of something breaking.
Possibly a piano bench.
Later that day, when Kate
house was exactly the same as it had been that morning.
It was
As if the world had tipped.
And the Romo and Ronson houses had slid over.
Capable's house had stayed where it was.
Over the next few weeks, Capable tried everything she could think of to get rid of gappers. She tried holding the goats, shaving the goats, but nothing worked. Finally, her goats stopped giving milk altogether.
Which meant no milk and no cheese. No money from selling the milk and cheese. Which meant that Capable and her father were reduced to eating dandelions.
Which she first had to pay white. Father, I can't keep up. Our goats are dying. We're going to have to ask our neighbors for help.
Have we ever done that before?
Well, we've never needed help before.
Well, I'm against it. If we haven't done that before, that stands to reason that this is the first time we've done that. Which means that, relative to what we've done in the past, this is different, which I'm very much against, as you know. I've been consistently very consistent about this.
Then he went back to sleep and Capable stayed in the yard. 20 times a day she filled her sack with gappers and walked to the cliff. And as she brushed gappers, she thought of her mother. And while thinking of her mother, she seemed to hear her mother's voice. Honey, if you need help, ask for help. You're not alone in this world, you sweet little coot.
She went back inside and wrote notes to the Romos and the Ronsons.
Dear friends, he said, we need your help. It's too hard here. No one's helping us. Please help. I beg you. Your friend, Capable. Then she left a copy for the Romos. Then a copy for the Ronsons. And went to sleep, happy, feeling that tomorrow things would get better.
Good Lord! What is the meaning of this?
What is she thinking?
Are her goats our goats? Are those gappers our gappers?
Good Lord! They are her goats and her gappers, as indicated by the fact that they are in her yard. Is her yard our yard? Are they not?
Quite right. Well said, Bee.
I, for one,
Said Carol Ronson, who then forgot what she was going to say, then poked Sid Ronson, who almost always knew what she had been about to say.
I, for one, do not intend to stand idly by while my poor daughters, Beverly and Gloria, who only recently were freed from gapper duty, go marching out of my yard and into her yard and lend a hand.
what kind of father would you be? What kind of message would you be sending? Wouldn't you be saying, girls, I don't value you. I think you should work like dogs to solve a problem that isn't yours? Preposterous. You refuse to say that.
I am very sorry that Capable's luck has gone bad. But come to think of it, I do not believe in luck. Do you know what I believe?
You don't believe in luck.
I believe we make our own luck in the world. I believe that when my yard is suddenly free of gappers, why it is because of something good I have done. And as both of you ladies know, I have always been a very hard worker.
I, too, have been a very hard worker. I have made my luck with my hard work. And look, no gappers. Work, work, work.
Perhaps I should compose a response.
That would be super.
So they proposed the following response.
Dear Capable,
It said,
we have received of your letter that other day.
whatever the date was that you sent us the letter that you sent us, we forgot to inform you that although we are very
gappers.
No, I'm giving up.
Why say it so grumpy? And what do you mean you're giving up?
I'm taking them to Frisch to sell. It's too hard here, nobody's helping us.
Do you mean me?
I certainly hope you don't mean us.
said Sid Ronson, leaning out the window.
With the toothbrush in his mouth. Did you not get a letter?
Did you not get my letter?
I have to say, it's a strange idea. I have to say, it makes me somewhat angry that you expect us to do your work. I mean, do you cover my roses? Do you polish my antiques? Do you force my daughter to sing her scale?
Do you trim my nose hairs?
And what do you do then, having sold your goats?
Fish.
Good Lord! Fish? Fish for what?
For fish?
With the hook and some bait?
Some
bait on a hook which is going to the sea?
To think it's come to this. To think that my daughter's going to start fishing, which is something she's never done before.
You must be heartbroken.
I've been crying about it all night, which is why my mustache is so wet and my nose is so red, which I must say is completely unprecedented. I've done my best, but look at these goats.
Everyone looked at the goats, which were skinny and jittery and glancing nervously out to the ocean.
If you want my advice, work harder. No, don't work harder, work smarter. Be more efficient than you've been before. In fact, be more efficient than is humanly possible. I know that's what I would do.
That's also what I would do. Me too.
But Capable knew she had tried her best, and her best hadn't been enough. And she remembered her mother once saying, just because everyone says the same thing loudly over and over doesn't mean it's true. So she kissed her father on the cheek and walked her goats out of the crib.
And returned a few hours later with a pole, a hook, and a book called
How to Fish for Fish. That night, Bee Roma woke from a sweet dream in which she was engaged to a handsome man who loved to hear her sing. She was singing, and then suddenly her fiancé turned into a vacuum cleaner, and apparently, in response to her excellent singing, began making a high-pitched, joyful shrieking noise.
Imagine her surprise when she looked out the window to see her goats lying on their sides, mortified, covered in orange streaky gappers.
Bee Roma let out a high-pitched, shrieking noise of her own that was not a bit joyful.
Good Lord! Is that Bee? Is that Bee shrieking? Is she shrieking or is she singing?
It's always so hard to tell. Oh, Sid, go check our goats. Are all goats fine?
Yes, our goats appear to be fine. Sort of smiling. Can goats smile? Our goats appear to be smiling.
But no gappers?
No gappers.
Oh, thank God, we are so blessed.
I feel like praying. I feel like thanking God for giving us whatever sort of gift it is that we have that keeps us free of gappers.
We should pray.
And the Ronsons great.
Thanking God for making us the sort of people we are. The sort of people who have no gappers.
And praying that God would forgive Bee for not being that sort of person,
and would have mercy on her.
and would make Bee into a better sort of person, and take all her gappers away.
Meanwhile, Capable was teaching herself how to fish. All day she stood on the beach in a pair of dumpy green overalls.
Sometimes she practiced getting her line caught in a tree. Sometimes she practiced peeling a worm off her forehead, while feeling grateful that she just hadn't succeeded in hooking her own eyebrow. Other times, she practiced sitting, frustrated and near tears in the sand.
At one point, just having knocked herself over by trying to reel in her own shoe, which unfortunately at the time was still on her foot, she looked up to see Beverly and Gloria Ronson staring down at her with their eyebrows held very high.
You should be glad they're not boys. Boys would not like that. What you just did? Boys do not like girls who wear overalls and knock themselves over with their own fishing thingamabobs. Boys like girls who wear nice dresses, and if they absolutely have to fall over, only do so after being pushed by a boy who's just kidding, and who only knocked them over to show how much he likes them. At least that's been my experience. And she might even giggle a bit if she needs his help to get up. True, although the type of boy I like, he's the type of
And the Ronson girl stood very still and looked sort of pretty. If you like the kind of girl who, to look sort of pretty, has to stand very still, why do you care so much what boys like?
I totally care what boys like, especially cute boys. I even care what ugly boys like, because who knows? An ugly boy might turn out to be cute later, or he might even have a cute friend.
At that moment, Capable caught her first fish, which came skittering across the beach like a silver coin that had suddenly come to life and was trying to get a hook out of its mouth.
Oh, gosh, yeah, watch where you're throwing that thing. That fish goo almost got on our new tights. The last thing we need is fish goo on our new tights.
The fishing was good.
By 10, Capable had caught enough fish for a nice dinner. The rest of the morning, she swam, made a sandcastle, and daydreamed a bit.
She daydreamed of the old days, when her father used to make her mother laugh by holding radishes in his eye sockets.
Then, she walked back home happy, dragging behind her
A gapper sack full of fish.
By the next day, Hiroma's goats had stopped giving milk. Carol! One of the Nubia girls will have a party, a cookie and milk party. And Carol, do you have any cookies? And do you have any milk for the party? Oh, Carol, I am so worried. My tongue is so tired. Not everyone can be a singer, Bee. Some of us are singers and some of us are gapper brushers. We all must accept our lot in life. Oh, Carol, things are going so badly for us. Life is mysterious, isn't it though?
We tried to get a hug from Carol, but Carol, afraid that a gapper or two might be hiding under Bee's tremendous operatic gown, pretended to sneeze, and took 2 very large steps back from the fence.
But you'll come to the party, the cookie and milk party, and you'll bring the cookies and you'll bring the milk and you'll bring your girls who will bring your gapper brushers. Oh God, won't it be fun? Well, Bee, to tell you the truth, that doesn't sound like all that much fun, really. Us brushing your gappers when we ourselves have none. What fun is that? Do you see what I mean? Aren't you suddenly a snoot? Good Lord, are you calling me a snoot?
Who's calling whom a snoot?
Bee called me a snoot. I think I'm going to cry.
Oh, brother! First you call my wife a snoot, and then you start crying? Good Lord! You'd think Carol would be the crying one. Carol, come inside at once. I won't have my wife being called a snoot by someone with so many gappers. The nerve!
The very first thing next morning, Carol and Sid Ronson looked out their bedroom window to find the team of very strong movers from Fridge, B. Romo's house, on their shoulder.
Just past the Ronson house, a team of very strong movers from Bridge set the Romo house down and accepted a big wad of money from B. Romo.
What are you doing, B? Moving your house in the vacant lot by the swamp?
None of your beeswax, you snoot. Again with the snoot talk.
Fine, B. If you want to live in a vacant lot by the swamp, live in a vacant lot by the swamp. It's no skin off our nose. Just stop calling us snoots.
And don't start again with that awful singing.
A few hours later, that less stupid gapper with a sticking out brain led his gappers into the former Romo yard, found it goatless, and proceeded directly into the Ronson yard.
Sid Ronson was making lunch when he heard the high-pitched, joyful shrieking noise and literally dropped his sandwich on the dog, who quickly ate it.
Good Lord! Get out there, girls! Start brushing! Brush like the wind! Oh, this is horrible! I'm playing B!
Don't blame me, except your love and life. Ha ha ha, you snoots. Just see how you like it. Look at my goats now. Good Lord, these goats appear to be smiling.
What about our goats? Do our goats appear to be smiling?
I can't tell. There are too many gappers on their faces for me to see their mouths.
Fine, B! We'll see about this!
on their rooftops. She watched Steve Romo's shoes slip off and fall into the mud. She watched Sid Ronson with his head in his hands, possibly weeping. And Carol Ronson sort of consoling him by patting him on the back. And she soon found that it was not all that much fun being the sort of person to sit with a big dinner in a warm house while others shivered under roofs in the dark. Father, I guess we'll be having some company.
Oh, what in the world? Our house is so small, and there's so many of them. We have so little, and we use so much. This is a really big change. It makes for a lot of extra work.
Yes, it is, and yes, it does.
But we're still doing it?
Yes, we are. And so she called the neighbors in and put on water for tea because she knew that tea would taste good to people who had been recently stuck in a freezing bucket swamp. Then she cooked up a bunch more fish, remembering to paint a few white for her father, who, at that moment, said something amazing.
You remind me of your mother. So generous and all.
Then he did something amazing. He ate an unpainted fish. So that morning,
Every morning after